Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mind Valley Circles. Why don't you type in the chat where you're joining us from? I love seeing our global family getting together like this. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, wow, how amazing to see so many familiar faces. This is going to be so exciting. Everyone is just starting to come in, and actually, because Vancouver changed our time last night and all of us local people are here, there might have been some confusion with the London GMT time. So people might be coming in as we go. But it is my absolute honor to welcome my beautiful friend, Donna Mueller, into our space. Donna and I met in 2015, and when she comes onto the screen, we're gonna tell you a little bit about our story. She also has quite a remarkable Mind Valley story and background as well, because we both took the course together, Speak and Inspire, in March of 2018. And many of you who are here will know her from those times. And she, of course, just has taken Speak and Inspire and has now done TED Talks and has become this global presence in photography. And her life is so remarkable that Vivian and I felt it really exciting to bring her here today and to share her journey with the community. So as we welcome everyone into the room, I'd like to see if Donna's ready to come on with us. Donna, are you there?
Here
Hello.
I am.
Hello.
Here I am.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Wow, I see so many faces, so many familiar faces. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here with you, all of you. Oh, this is amazing. Thanks so much for inviting me.
And we're both in Vancouver right now, which is so interesting because usually you're in Switzerland or I am in the Pacific, or and WhatsApp is what joins us. So tell us a little bit about what's happening with your Swiss and Canada connection right now.
Well, as everybody knows, we've been in a worldwide pandemic for the last year. It's a year's gone by already, which is just mind-boggling in so many ways. And I actually came from Switzerland to Vancouver a year ago because my kids were here studying. One's in boarding, well, they were both in boarding school last year. And I came here for their spring break. And I went home in the summer to take one home to see her father. But I basically have been here all year, and I'm just, I'm so thankful that I'm able to be here with my kids, and I'm thankful that I'm healthy and that I have a roof over my head, and also that I'm able to continue on with my work. And I have a lot of time on my hands right now because we have been under various stages of lockdown, as most of you around the world. So I was doing a little bit of my photography, but I can't be in the Swiss Alps. I certainly can't be in the Arctic or the Antarctic right now. So I've decided to up level my own education, and I'm doing a master's degree in photography remotely, but it's keeping me very busy, very occupied, and I'm really grateful for that.
Oh, that's incredible. There is no stopping you, Donna. And that's why we have you here and you're a complete inspiration to my life. I just wanted to say that, I mean, since 2018 and just since Speak and Inspire, of course, we met in 2015, your life has changed so dramatically in terms of your career has just blossomed and you've become a globally renowned conservation photographer, and also you've added portraiture into your portfolio, and I know you were super excited about that, and perhaps you can share with us how that sort of integrated into your entire professional photography career.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes into the thread of what we're going to talk about ultimately and how to take these actionable steps to create the life you desire. But I think having a passion, I mean, we all have a passion, and our passion is inextricably linked to our purpose in life. It's one of the magic things that we're given, is that that's how we can find out what our purpose is by finding out what we're passionate about and then moving in that direction. So, to go into my photography, last year when I came here, I couldn't be on expedition doing my conservation photography. So I took a course. I had taken a number of courses on photography. And in fact, I studied photography full time in Switzerland. But I had never really focused on people, portraiture and whatnot. And I started exploring that. And last year when we were doing the lockdown, I was curious to take that to the next level. And I actually took an online course. And as soon as we opened up in June for, to be allowed to work as a photographer, I went out and I had all these people lined up that I could photograph either outside or in a studio that I rented, clients that needed headshots, branding, students who were graduating that couldn't, have their proms and whatnot. And I was able to turn, or not to turn, but to kind of pivot my business and create a whole new genre for myself. So I was able to continue working. And I think that we can adopt that model to any aspect of our life, that when there's an obstacle, and an obstacle is not a stop sign, okay? Death might be the stop sign, but an obstacle is merely a speed bump. And we can pivot, or we can find a way through it, over it, under it, and create something quite magical out of it. So I took this time of, our lockdown and used it to facilitate growth in my business. And I think that, that's one of the keys, is being curious, being flexible, being adaptable, and going with the flow. So that's very much what I did. And that's still what I'm doing here. I'm not on expedition in the Arctic. I'm trying to continue on with my photography, and working with people and clients is one way I'm able to do that. I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving the social interaction, because other than that, we're not really allowed to be mixing with people outside of our own bubble socially.
Right. And it's amazing how there's so many people that sense that their life has stopped completely when COVID came around and all these rules that we have to go by. But clearly you have found a way to navigate and still create a very, very good income in these times, which is, we will go into that later, I know. And I'm super excited to just present your entire life. There's so much that it's for me, it's also, I don't know where to start, but why don't we start with this? And this really funny story that happened with us, as Viv is still bringing people into the room. So in 2015, Donna and I had been in Europe, and I had been traveling, and we were on a British Airways plane. And what happened to this plane was, it was up in the air and we were on our way to Vancouver. She was coming from Switzerland, and I was in London, and I guess I was coming from Italy at the time. And as we were having dinner, the captain came on and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to turn this plane back to land back in Heathrow because of mechanical failure." And I remember the moment distinctly, because nobody flinched on that plane. We were eating and we're thinking, "Oh my goodness, what an inconvenience." But certainly the alternative would have been a lot worse. So I'm gonna rush through this very long story, but we ended up landing in London, spending the night, and then the next day we were at the gate waiting for our plane to leave. It had already been 24 hours. And I'm standing there about to board, and there's this lovely blonde woman that approaches me and says, "Oh, hello, where are you coming from? And what are you doing?" And it was just so remarkable to me that, we would connect instantly, energetically that way. And so we get on the plane, and I sit down in my seat. And all of a sudden, here comes Donna with a glass of champagne, actually two. And I already had my own. And she sits right in front of me and she says, "Well, let's get to know each other." And from that moment on, and I went, "That's my girl." So ever since then, we've had this friendship, and we were talking on WhatsApp every single day. And it's just been an amazing journey. So tell us a little bit about that time in your life.
Indeed. Well, it was one of the synchronicities of life, and life always brings in the people that we need at that time, right? And I think one of the important things that both of us were going through was a really significant change and shift in our lives. I had just lost my mother, and my long marriage had ended within days of each other. So it was and you had also recently come out of a marriage. And so we were both raw and in pain. And I think I recognize that in you, which is probably why I was so adamant that you come and spend this time with me for some reason. And I think, when we are experiencing that in our lives, and we've all had pain, right? There is nobody on this planet that gets out unscathed, and it's how we deal with it, and it's how we navigate through it. And so it was at that time that, there was this opportunity for me and for you to have this growth. And that's where we went inside. And that's, I don't even know how Mind Valley showed up to me, but I very much live in the flow. And I think that this is for those of us that live in the flow, and you're all enlightened people here being in the Mind Valley community. So we know what that means, that when we're in the flow, the universe gives us, God, Buddha, Muhammad, whoever your deity is, gives us the downloads that we need at the time that we need it. We just need to be receptive to it. And when we release all of the stuff we don't need in our life, I like to think of the analogy of a drawer. That kitchen drawer that we all have that is full of crap? You can't put anything more in there, right? That's kind of like our life. When it's full of stuff, we can't take on anything new, including the gifts, including the beautiful downloads. So we need to empty it out. And what a better way to do that than go through this process of meditations of, that's why we were introduced to Christian Marie Sheldon. I honestly don't even know how. Maybe Facebook, we get these downloads all the time. It comes somehow. And that during that period where we did that, that really allowed us to empty out all the stuff that we didn't need, to just be calm, be still, and to start taking in what we needed. And it was during this time, we had the summer together, and then I went back to Switzerland, and I was really in pain, suffering. And I remember when I was on the plane coming to Vancouver, my mother had died the day before. I didn't get here in time. And I'm on the plane, and the movie screen pops up, and the movie Wild came on. Now, if you've seen Wild, you know where I'm going with this. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you watch it. And it was amazing. It's about this woman. It's a true story. Her mother dies, she grows crazy, and then she decides she wants to get her life back together, and she goes on a 1,000-kilometer trek for 3 months on the Pacific Crest Trail to straighten her life out and get herself back together. Well, my life wasn't a mess per se, but my heart and soul was, and I needed to find myself. I needed to find some direction. So I decided that I wanted my own Wild. I came to Vancouver, I dealt with my mom and all of her stuff. I went back to Switzerland, and I called somebody that I knew from the mountains who's sort of a guide. And I said, listen, I need to go into the mountains. I want my own healing journey. Can you do that? And he said, absolutely. He organized everything. I went on my own healing journey into the mountains, and I could only go for a week. I couldn't go for 3 months, unfortunately, but I went into the Swiss Alps. I have kids, so that, they needed me. They went with my ex for a week, and I went into the mountains with this guide. And it was incredible because, I could barely see the trail through my tears for some of the time. And I talk about this in my TEDx. But I remember looking up in front of me and seeing this incredible white face of a mountain. And I felt the energy of my mom. And in fact, the higher I went, the more I felt the energy of my mom. And I looked up at this white face of a mountain, and I heard her say, you can create the life of your dreams. This is a blank canvas, and you can paint it in the color of your dreams. What's that going to be? That was my life. That was the metaphor, that mountain in front of me. And I was like, yeah, what's it going to be? What are my dreams? And so through this meditative journey, because nature is my meditation, nature is my source. And through this journey, I realized that, I not only was seeing the beauty of the Swiss Alps, which are magnificent. For those of you that know the Alps anywhere in Europe, it's pretty outstanding. I also saw the devastation as a result of the adverse human impact due to climate change, right? I saw the scarring moraines of glaciers that had retreated for kilometers. So it wasn't lost upon me that I was in the midst of my own pain and suffering while I was walking amongst the pain and the suffering of the planet. And it was so moving for me that I decided, and I always have a camera, whether it's my iPhone or a camera around my neck. I've been a photographer since I was 10 years old, hobby photographer, now professional. But at that time I was still hobby. And I was taking pictures, and I realized, during this week, and then I went home, and then it was distilling in me, you know. The drawer was emptying, more stuff was coming in, more things that were feeding my soul. And I realized, you know, I need to start talking about what I was seeing, because I saw things that no one had seen. I saw glaciers covered in blankets to protect them. And I think, Christina, you have some of these pictures that we'll be showing later. Who's seen that? Who has seen glaciers covered with blankets to protect them from melting so drastically and exponentially? And I needed to share this with people. And so, you know, I also needed to continue my healing. So I went back the following month and I went for another week. And pretty soon I decided, there we are, there's the Rona glacier, which feeds into the famous Rhone River. And these are blankets covering part of the glacier cave. When you see something like that, you cannot unsee it, right? And that's because of, you know, our adverse human impact, and as a result of climate change, global warming. So I decided a month later to enroll into photography school full time, and that's what I was going to do. I was going to become a professional photographer. What I was going to devote my life to. It was something that I had been passionate about forever, and I really wanted to talk about this. I've always been a bit of an activist. You know, I studied law before, so we can go into that as well. But I've always wanted to. We all have something, right? We all have a superpower, and we just need to tap into what it is. And one of my superpowers is my ability to communicate whatever it is. I think you know, we're all a vessel for something. And that is one of my superpowers. So that's what I did. I went to photography school. I immediately started focusing on environmental photography, although I learned it all. And I immediately, you know, started going into the mountains, photographing them, documenting them, exhibiting, speaking, which is what led me to speak and inspire. I was asked to do a TEDx, and I thought, well, I need to up level my speaking, you know, and learn what I need to know to be able to do that efficiently and effectively.
And what a surprise Speak and Inspire was, right? Not only did it make you such a powerful speaker, but I know we went very deep with that, and I'm sure that you'll touch on that. I'd also like you to touch on something that has touched my heart deeply in the entire time that I have known you. And you know, you're so transparent about your humble beginnings, and that is in fact the place and time that shaped your life, and which is how we really did connect on that plane, you know, coming back to Vancouver in 2015, when you started telling me about your younger life and that you came from Vancouver. In fact, I think we even were from Burnaby, in the same suburbs, growing up around the same time, right? So can you tell us about that, when you were living with your mom? And
yeah, exactly. So this is taking us way back. Yes. Okay. So the message here, which I'll tell you first before I go into the story, is that adversities in life can be our greatest gifts, right? That's where we learn the most important things that we need to know. So I'm 60 now. Okay. But let's go way, way back to when I was 7 in grade 2. My dad died when I was 3. And my mother and I moved from Manitoba to British Columbia, and my mom she didn't have any money. She was a waitress. She worked in a restaurant. When we first moved here, she couldn't find a job. She took social assistance, welfare, I think it was called at the time. Then she got a job working for this man as his caretaker of his home, and he lived in a trailer park. And so we moved into his trailer, you know, a single wide trailer in a trailer park in a really bad neighborhood that still exists to this day. When I drive by it, I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, those were my beginnings. So there we are, living with him and his 3 kids in a 3-bedroom trailer, single wide, and she's his housekeeper. And it was, I barely have a memory of that time, except for I couldn't get what I wanted in terms of, you know, candy and toys and even, you know, clothes that I wanted. And my mom didn't have the money. So I realized, okay, well, if I wanted candy, I needed to get it myself. So I painted rocks. And this was way before that, you know, that craze in the 70s, the painted rock. This was way before that. And I painted rocks. And I also planted seedlings and grew flowers and sold them. And I would go around the trailer court and I would sell my rocks and my flowers, and I would go up and down the streets because there were some houses around. And I made my pin money, my little, you know, candy money, to buy candy and the things that I wanted. And even though I wasn't able to consciously articulate what was going on at the time, the message landed very loud and clear to me that I could trust myself to get what I needed. I didn't look at it in an adverse situation or interpretation that, my mother couldn't take care of me. I was able to look at it in a glass half full perspective, and that I could absolutely get what I wanted by relying on myself. And that established a sense of trust within myself that I could rely on myself. And after that, we moved, and then, life went on, and I realized that, I could always do what I needed to do to take care of myself. So I got a paper route when I was in grade 5. I remember getting a paper route, and I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and get on my bicycle and ride around in the dark in the winter, delivering the paper to earn money. And then I got a babysitting job. And then my entire life, my young years as a child, as an adolescent, as a young adult, I realized at that very early age, due to the adversity, that I could rely on myself. And that is such an important lesson. And that's what I tell my kids. And there is finding the balance, right? I don't want to put my kids through the hardships that I went through to teach them these lessons. But that is such an important lesson. And I think that, that's what a lot of people are still struggling with today as adults, is to have that trust. Because when we've got that, we've got it all. We can do absolutely everything. So I grew up with no money, but anytime I wanted something, I knew I could do it myself. Going to law school. I mean, I had a long road ahead of me because my mom got married ultimately when I was in my, I guess probably 12. When I was 12, she met a man. They got together. They got married, and he became abusive. And here I was in this family situation, living with this man who was, trying to sexually abuse me. He never, but that in a sense is sexual abuse. And I left home at 15. My mother didn't protect me. That's a whole other story. I came to forgive her. I forgave him, but I left home at 15. And I realized, okay, well, I've had to rely on myself. Let's do it again. And I did it again. And, when we have that strength, that core strength, we can survive anything. And that was a real gift. So of course I survived that. And I ended up putting myself through university and achieving all of the things that I set out to achieve because I had that inherent sense of trust and the resilience and knowledge that I could achieve and obtain whatever I set myself as a goal. And it started with, painting rocks. So
That's the best painting rock story that I have ever heard. And I mean, it's the most inspiring thing because I mean, now you have a very healthy real estate portfolio, which of course you have helped and coached many people just by what you have learned and garnered through your life. And perhaps we'll talk a little bit about that because I know that you put yourself through law school and you traveled to the far north of Canada to support your your education, and which led you to, I believe, your first business and being in Europe and in Paris and coming back to Vancouver and knowing with this very strong intention that you wanted to purchase your first apartment. And perhaps you can talk a little bit about that lovely story as to how you actually manifested that in your life.
absolutely. Well, I think first and foremost, it was really important for me to understand the value of money. And I saw my mother's life and the lack of money in it. And I realized that she couldn't do the things that she wanted, and she couldn't even provide some basic things for me because of the lack of money. So it's not that money was my driver, but I realized that if I wanted to do the things that I wanted to do in life, I needed to be financially secure, stable, and fiscally aware, right? I needed to educate myself about money because I didn't get that knowledge from my mother. So when I was in my late teens, I started reading a lot of books about money, and I started reading a lot of books about personal development. Wayne Dyer was was my first go-to. I remember reading his book The Erroneous Zones when I was a young adult. And I taught myself about money and the understanding of it. And I remember going when I was around 20 years old, I went to a weekend seminar, a real estate seminar, where I don't even know who the guy was, but it was a seminar called Buy Real Estate with No Money Down. well, how attractive is that, right? Everybody wants to buy real estate with no money down. And I was 20 years old. And so I went to this seminar, and it was very encouraging. And I remember the seed being planted in my head. But at the same time, I really wanted to get my education, because I knew that that was my way out of poverty, is to have an education. And just a side note, I quit school at 15 when the whole abuse thing was going on with my father. It was very disruptive to me emotionally and academically. I quit school. I went to hairdressing school. But when I was 20, I felt really ripped off that I couldn't complete my education. So I went back to college. I went to college and I took this adult basic education, which gave me my grade 12 equivalency, the GED it was called. And then I realized, you know what, this is my ticket. This education is going to be my ticket. And I want to go to law school because I want to be an advocate for people who have no voice. Imagine that, right? That's quite a step, being in the adult basic education to going to law school, because in Canada you need an undergraduate degree first. So it's at least 7 years. But I thought, you know what, I can do that. And so that was my goal. And in my 20s, that's what I did. I went, I did the adult basic education. I did an undergrad. I went to law school. I went to the Yukon to work in gold mines, to make money, to pay for my education. Again, just allowing the universe to, give its benevolence and provide me with whatever it was that I needed to achieve my goal. But I never let go of the real estate dream, because I knew that real estate was a really good thing to be involved in. It allows passive income if you have, real estate income as investments, not just as a property to live in. I read a lot about it. I kept it in my horizon, but I needed to finish my education. So I finally did. I finally finished my education at 35 years old. I finished my law studies. I had finished my articling. I went to Paris to the Sorbonne to study for a year. And when I came back, I was ready to buy my first piece of real estate, but I had no money still at this point, because I had all my education, which I paid for, but I didn't have any money to invest in real estate. So what I did was I went back to the lessons that I learned from this, when I was 20, this weekend real estate conference. And I asked a friend of mine to loan me 1/3 of the price, the purchase price. I'll give you the full disclosure here. The apartment was $300,000. Apartment in Vancouver. This apartment that I'm sitting in right now. I bought this in 1995. I had a friend who had some money, and I said, listen, if you lend me $100,000, I will give you prime plus 1%. So you will make money on my money. And then I went to the bank and I asked them for $200,000. And I had a job as a lawyer, which I was going to be starting a few months in the future. And I was just coming back from Paris, but this job was secured. So I got a loan from the bank based on my future salary as a lawyer. My friend loaned me the money. I got a roommate in the apartment to pay back the loan to him, and my income paid back the loan to the bank. So it was complete creative financing. I bought this apartment for $300,000 in 1995 with no money of my own. And I accelerated payments, which went to the principal to pay it down so that I could pay down the amortization from something like 25 years to 12 years in the end. But that made me realize, okay, and then I had income from my roommate. And then I would go to the Yukon in the summer to get cash injections for paying off my mortgage, for my business, for whatever it was that I was doing. It was just a smart way of allowing money to work for me. And then I realized, I need to have more real estate investments because they're income producing investments. So I just started expanding more my portfolio, and I would just save money. As I make money, I save it. I try to use money as money's energy. Money is just energy, right? It comes in, it goes out. The more we give, the more we get back. It's this circular flow. So I realized, well, let's just, save it, invest it, and there it goes. And it's allowed me to create a portfolio, to have this passive income, to create the life that I want to do other things. So now I'm doing my photography. I earn income from my photography, and that just generates its own circular economy, as if you may. And I think when we understand that, it's not about chasing the money. I've never chased the money. I've chased the opportunities. I've chased the dreams and the desires, and they require money. So we just have to figure out what we can do to get it, to be creative and to be smart and to understand how money works.
Yes, that's amazing. And I just want to show this one uh, picture of you doing your TED Talk, because your life is so incredibly amazing and it's all encompassing. And I know that this particular scene took place in 2018, soon after you did Speak and Inspire. And so you're integrating your conservation photography, your love for the planet and saving the planet, with the speaking skills that, of course, that you, well, you innately have them, but of course, Speak and Inspire, bringing us deeper and bringing us the courage to get in front of an audience. So tell us a little bit about this time, about your TED Talks and the passion within you, integrating your photography and wanting to speak your voice to the world.
Yeah, so well, this brings us back to a very important thing that Lisa Nichols talked about in Speak and Inspire, and I think that this is something that resonates with every single one of us, and it goes to the issue of being seen. And this is, in when we talk about the actionable things to create the life of your desires, one of them is dare to be seen, because we often don't want to be seen. We don't want to give full disclosure. We're so worried about being judged or criticized, and that's why we hold back from being seen. So I think one of the kernels of wisdom that Lisa Nichols talked about in Speak and Inspire, in terms of helping us get on the stage and be seen and to relinquish that nervousness, was to get out of our ego, to get out of our heads, and to just think of how the message lands on the audience, whether it's one or 1,000. And if you look at what I'm wearing here, I'm wearing jeans that are ripped. And normally I would not go on a stage. I think there were like 700 people in that audience. Normally I would not go on a stage wearing jeans that were ripped, but I had flown from Switzerland and I didn't bring a lot of clothes because I thought I had some stuff here. And it turned out that I didn't. I was a bit confused about my wardrobe. So that day I went out, or the day before, I went out looking for some proper attire, and nothing was right. Nothing. I mean, I tried on pants and whatever, and nothing seemed appropriate. And I thought, you know what? I have these jeans that are ripped, and it's not about me. It's not about what I'm wearing. It's about the message. And, I think in that particular image, no one was looking at my jeans that were ripped. They're all looking at the polar bear. Everybody was gobsmacked that, I was telling the story about baby polar bears drowning because the ice is melting so rapidly that they can't swim for 10, 15 hours to find the next iceberg to land on. So they're drowning. That's what people were watching. That's what people were listening to and thinking about, not my ripped jeans. So that's a really important message, is that it's not about us. When we have a message to convey, whatever it is that we're talking about, and we're here for service. That's is one of the big things of our purpose in life, is for service. It's not about us. It's about what can we give others, and how can we show up and provide that service. So that allows, just even thinking about that allows us to get out of our own head. It doesn't matter what my hair looks like, what my jeans look like. Do I have food in my teeth? It's not about that. It's about giving the audience what they need to hear, what they've come to hear. You've all come here today because you want to know how to create the life of your desires, and what are the actionable steps that you're going to take to achieve that. The people in the audience at these talks that I give, they're not coming to look at my clothes. They're coming to hear the issues that are, on the agenda of the day. And I think that that's a really important message for every single one of us, is that we have something to say, and we're the expert. I've become the expert in what I'm talking about because I'm there on the ground. I see what's going on. I've got the pictures, because you know what? Pictures really do speak 1,000 words. And when you see glaciers covered in blankets and you see polar bears, it's a bit overwhelming. Yes, it's beautiful and breathtaking, but on the other hand, there's a huge message behind that. So when we can get out of our heads, relinquish our ego, show up and dare to be seen, we can move mountains, quite literally.
It's amazing. That's truly amazing. And I just want to sort of lead you into what you want to share with the audience today, with our viewers, about the 5 actionable steps. But before we do that, one of your Mind Valley journeys was going to Mind Valley University in Pula. And I know that you had the opportunity to photograph Vision and Marissa Peer, but more importantly, you were introduced to the work of Dr. Rao. And I know that that had a significant contribution to your life spiritually and integrating what you know of business and living the life of your dreams, but also integrating some of the spiritual aspects that Dr. Rao is so good at his institute. So, would you like to touch a little bit on that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I love Dr. Rao. For those of you that don't know Dr. Rao, he is amazing. You have to look him up. He taught a course called Creative Personal Mastery at Columbia University and also at LSE, London School of Economics. And he's now in his 70s, I guess. He's originally from India. He brings together in this course that he's created, he brings together the Eastern philosophy with Western business practices. And he created this course, which he taught at Columbia, and it was the only course that ever had its own alumni. And as a result of the popularity of this program, he created the Rao Institute, and now he offers these programs to everybody. So he spoke at Mind Valley U in Pula a year and a half ago, and he had a whole day seminar, which was really, it just resonated with me so much because everything he said was how I'm living my life. He talked about the alternate reality, you know, how when things are not the way you want them to be, it's all about our perception. So make it the way you want it to be. Change the mindset, create an alternate reality. And his, you know, another kernel of wisdom was good thing, bad thing, who knows? We don't know, we can't judge. We're not in control. We're really not in control. So when we learn all of these things, everybody, I mean, you know, I remember a lot of this from Wayne Dyer in my 20s and Deepak Chopra and all of these teachers that we have. He brought it all together, but you know, he also knows a lot about business, and so he incorporates it into the Western business frame, which we, as you know, Westerners, we have this idea about business being one way, but I think when we can incorporate these Eastern philosophical concepts into it, it just makes it so much more palpable and palatable for me. And I love living my life like that. And it was really nice to be able to find words to put to how I was already living. And, you know, I mean, I hear his voice in my head all the time. Good thing, bad thing, who knows? We're not in control. Alternate reality. You know, I coach a number of people and I'm still using his tenets to this day as just words of wisdom. So I really, I absolutely have such wonderful things to say about Dr. Rao. He's a very, very wise man. If anybody has an opportunity to look into his Creative Personal Mastery program, would highly recommend it.
It's so beautiful to be able to integrate Western business with spiritual principles, and to actually see it manifest in our lives. And for you, when you were in the program, you realized that you already had all these tools, and that's actually what you have been implementing all your life, starting from the Painting the Rocks and the Wayne Dyer book. So if you would like to go into the 5 actionable steps, which we are all so excited to hear about, and because I know that you're really clear about your why, which is, you know, the second step, but please go ahead and share with us what it
Absolutely.
is that you'd like to
Well,
implement here.
yeah, I'll elaborate. I'll elaborate a little bit on them, and then I will point them out afterwards. So you can write them down. But first of all, and I've already alluded to this, is I think we all have a purpose on this planet, and it is inextricably linked to our passion. That's the key. That's our God, Buddha, Mohammed, universe-given gift to align us, right? To be our hint or our guidance is our passion. So tap into what it is you're passionate about and allow that to take you down a journey, because you will find your purpose there. I guarantee it. Every single person that I know that is living a life that is purpose driven is because they've aligned with their passion. So, just be open to it. Just be open to it and explore and go down that road and see the wonderful miracles that are going to show up, because they will. And also to know your why. If anybody has seen Simon Sinek's amazing TED Talk, Know Your Why, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. But it's not about your how, what, where. It's about your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Because that's the big important thing. The reason I'm doing this is because this planet is our home, right? We're all roommates basically here on this planet. And if we don't take care of it, the planet will survive, but we as a human species won't. And we're already killing off all of the other species. So we need to take care. And this is my why. I want people to understand what's going on. And yes, everybody hears global warming, and sometimes, we're overwhelmed with the scientific stats. But maybe if people can see pictures and they can hear things from my perspective, it might make some changes, and every time I talk, I give actionable steps on what people can do to actually reduce their own footprint. So that's my why, but we all have a different why. And I think just tapping into your why is going to be the big game changer. And also to be curious, because in order to up-level our lives, improve our business, improve anything in our life, we need to learn about it, and we need to be curious, and then we need to study it, and we need to find out everything that we can about it. So if we're moving in a new direction, learn that topic. If we're moving in a direction that we're already going, learn even more. Just curiosity. I think it not only keeps us young, it keeps us just interested and interesting. And then find a mentor, because we need to get to where we want to be by aligning ourselves with people that are already there. And I always say this to everybody: if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? We need to go into a room where there are people smarter than us so that we can learn from them. So find a mentor, find a coach, find somebody that can take you to where you need to go. Not every mentor or coach charges money. I mentor a lot of people for free. It's a pay it forward. I've had so many opportunities and wonderful, privileged situations in my life where people have paid it forward to me. So I pay it forward now. And find yourself a mentor, find yourself a coach that is exactly where you want to be, and it will help you to make those steps forward to get there. And then finally, dare to be seen. Show up, because often we're immobilized by our own limiting belief, our own fear of being seen, of being judged, of being ridiculed, of being criticized. It doesn't matter. When we, like, as I said before, when we get outside of our own ego, and when we bring the message forward that needs to land on the people it needs to land on, not everybody needs to hear my message clearly, but the people that do it will land on, hopefully. And that goes for each and every one of you. Just show up and be seen. Get out of the ego, and then it doesn't matter. The judgment that people have doesn't matter. I don't care if people judge me. It's not about me, right? So that's it. Follow your passion, know your why, be curious, learn as much as you can, find a mentor or a coach, show up, dare to be seen, and move forward. Sometimes we take 2 steps forward and then we fall back a step, but it's just a roadblock or a speed bump. It's just a speed bump. It's not a stop sign, right? That little, it's just an obstacle that we can overcome.
Yeah. As you gave the 5 points just now to us, we've talked about it all throughout our conversation this morning, and pretty much you've explained your why and your passion and all the mentors you've had in your life and daring to be seen. But there's, that level of trust, that level of boldness that you have by the grace of God. Probably you've had it since a very young age. How can you encourage others to just find that courage, that strength, that boldness, that daring to be seen, daring to be heard, going after for what we truly want?
Well, I guess, if we've reached adulthood and we still have that lack of confidence or lack of trust. I mean, because it was, as children, we're much more resilient. So maybe when I was 7, it was just very easy for me to go out boldly and sell rocks and realize, wow, this, could translate into change for me to buy my candy. But as we grow up, we take on more blocks, right? We just build these blocks around us and these walls around us, and they're harder to relinquish and they're harder to tear down. I think just like a muscle needs exercise, maybe just take little steps forward in venturing out into unknown territory to allow oneself to build up the resilience and see the opportunities that arrive, which will in essence build up trust. Venture out of the safe space to see that it's not Hobbes' state of nature. It's not the wild and crazy. Well, maybe it is wild and crazy in a good way, but it's not going to be as scary and devastating as we think it is. I mean, we just have so many limiting beliefs, and they're, it's like fear. False evidence appearing real is the acronym for fear. I have fear. I do a lot of things outside my comfort zone because growth only happens outside of our comfort zone, and we can only move forward in a new direction if there's growth. There's always fear. Fear accompanies something that's new and something that we've never done before. But one of the things that was, very clearly enumerated in Speak and Inspire was to just acknowledge the fear, acknowledge it. And I remember reading a book in my 20s, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. That's what it was called. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And that was huge. That was a game changer for me. It's like, okay, it's not going to kill me, right? All right, let's just do it anyway. I mean, I got my pilot's license when I was 21. I look back at that, I think, wow, that was crazy. And so feel the fear and do it anyway, because it's not going to kill you. And if it does, well, it probably won't. And so I think if we can just allow ourselves to acknowledge fear exists. I like to think of fear as a companion. I let it sit with me on my shoulder. Sometimes it alerts me to danger if there is real threat, but otherwise I allow it to accompany me. It doesn't rule me. It doesn't drive me. It doesn't immobilize me from moving forward. But it's there. And I certainly do feel it. It just doesn't stop me, and I don't allow it to have control.
Right. So absolutely very beautiful. I mean, Speak and Inspire, just because you just brought it up now, that 30-day course where, you wanted to do your TED Talks. I wanted to be a better speaker for my book signing. And it takes us so deep into actually going into those layers of, I'm not good enough. I am afraid to be seen. I'm afraid to be judged. How are people going to perceive me? And I think it's an important note that people who do TED Talks like yourself, or we travel the world photographing, glaciers underwater, that there's always that level of maybe, or, that something that stops us, that comes from the mind, but then you have the presence of mind to eliminate that. And like that book says, you do it anyway. And I think that it's taken you to every corner of the globe, and have lived, just not living the life of your professional standards and what you're contributing to the world, but in your personal life as well, right? I mean, there's many things about your personal life that has blossomed over the last little while, in which you manifested a beautiful relationship, where I believe your partner and yourself are now also sometimes photographing in areas that you both love, and going to the Arctic or Antarctica. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh my goodness, yes, let me share that. So this is just one of the miracles that shows up when we're open and in the flow. So I went on these 2 trips, these healing journeys into the mountains with my guide. And then this was over the course of a couple of months. And then 6 months later, I wanted to go again on another trip. And you need to be with somebody safe in the mountains. I'm not a mountain guide. I don't want to be falling off the side of a mountain. I need a guide. And so I hired him again. And we went again for this walk, a hike in the mountains. And I was already in photography school at this point. And there came a point where the relationship changed from him guiding me into the mountains and finding my whatever it was that I was looking for, to finding love with each other. We actually entered into a relationship, and we're still in this relationship, and it's so beautiful because he's a ski instructor. He's a mountain man. He was born in the mountains. I mean, he was basically born with skis on. And through this journey that we've been on, which is 5.5 years now, he himself has picked up a camera because he would guide me into the mountains, and he would wait for hours while I took a picture, because it takes me a really long time. I need to really be in the environment that I'm photographing to feel it and to see it. And he picked up one of my cameras, and he's autodidactic. He's self-taught. So he has basically taught himself photography. And now we go together on these different expeditions. He photographs, we exhibit together, we work together. I mean, he's in Switzerland right now. I have hardly seen him this year, although we video every day. And it's turned into this beautiful thing. And I mean, I wouldn't have imagined it for the world, but when you're open and you're in the flow and you just accept all the miracles that, God, Buddha, the universe, whoever your deity is, it all comes to us. And, I think Albert Einstein said this: the universe is benevolent. The universe is benevolent. And when we believe it so, it's so.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question? I sort of got sidetracked, probably.
No, you did. No, you answered the question. That's really super beautiful, because it's important to know that you also fulfill all those other pillars in your life, and that you have that, and it's not just all about work, work, work. There actually is a balance in that. You live your life, your passion, you travel, you photograph, you travel everywhere, but you have this person in your life that you share a passion with, and that supports you. Yeah. And you support each other. And I think that's a very, very beautiful thing to share. So
let's just talk a bit about energy, because we all know about energy, right? And how energy is measurable. And for those of you, I mean, I love Wayne Dyer and Joe Dispenza, because they talk about the quantum field and energy very, very understandably to the layperson. But when we're in the positive, high frequency, energetic state, so these are emotions that are, love and gratitude and happiness and generosity, and all of these are emotions that have a certain energetic frequency to them, and they attract that. And the low vibrational frequencies, and they're measurable in hertz, so the lower vibrational frequencies are the anger, the jealousy, sadness, what are the other ones? The negative emotions that we're experiencing. That is a different vibrational state, and that attracts that. So I think it's really important for us to know that understanding about the quantum field and about energy, because when we want to attract something in our life, we cannot be in a place of fear, despair, anger, jealousy. That's only going to bring more of that. But we all go there. I mean, absolutely. I have those emotions sometimes in my own life, but I know I need to get out of that frequency, or I'm just going to be, bringing more of that into my life. So being conscious of that, I will always take myself into a place of gratitude, because the high vibrational frequency emotions cannot exist simultaneously with the low vibrational frequency emotions. It's not possible. It's not possible to have love and hate as an emotion at the same time. So if I'm feeling fearful or anxious or whatever, I will immediately meditate on gratitude, on something that I'm grateful for, because within minutes I'm out of that space and I'm into a more expansive state of gratitude, where I'm then, vibrating that frequency, attracting that. I think that's really important. So as we're going through this list of 5 things that are actionable to create the life of your desire, nothing in that list is created in the low vibrational frequencies of the negative emotions. And I think we have to be very conscious of that as we're moving forward in our day. So sometimes I'll find myself in the day, I'm either tired or I'm anxious, or I'm, something's bugging me, and I'll find myself getting into that vortex. I will pull myself out. And just, it's like a muscle, exercising it. The more you exercise it, the more you're aware of it, the more you're able to pull yourself out of it. So I try to live in that space of abundance, in that space of, high vibrational frequency all the time. Of course, am I there all the time? Probably not, probably 90%. It doesn't matter. But that's where all the abundance comes from. That's where all the beautiful things happen. That's where the miracles manifest. And I have a lot of amazing things happen in my life, and I'm very grateful for all of these things. But abundance is there for each and every one of us. We just have to know how to navigate our own emotional being so that we can access and tap into all of that, so that we don't sabotage, because a lot of self-sabotaging can happen if we're not aware of these things. And I think, this goes into kind of a metaphysical quantum physics discussion, but it's really important. If you walk into any room, and if there's been a fight in that room before you walked in, there's the saying in English, I could cut it with a knife. The air was so thick, I could cut it with a knife, because you feel it, right? It's palpable. The energy is palpable. Conversely, if you walk into a room and somebody's just shining brightly and everyone is, circling around that person because they're emanating this incredible energy, you can feel it. It's like a magnet. One repels, the other attracts. What are we going to be? I want to be the attractor. I want to give out. The more I give, the more I get. And this goes into the giving and receiving. When we give generously, benevolently, altruistically, without an attached purpose, the more we give, the more we get back. And this allows us to give out more, right? So this again is a circular economy. When it's altruistic and benevolent, when there's something attached to it, when we're giving, for malevolent reasons or because we think we're going to get something more, it's never going to happen. But when we altruistically give from the goodness of our hearts, just give, we're going to get so much more back, which allows us to give even more. This is a whole philanthropic discussion. And so, yeah.
So beautiful. And yes, we're definitely going to have you back, or definitely we are going to do our video podcast on Conscious Hour very soon, because there's so much to discuss and so much to cover. And so at this time, Vivian and I would like to open up the floor to questions if anybody wants to interact with Donna and have some questions that they'd like to present, which would help us all. So we welcome you to either raise your hand or message us on the chat. It's better to raise your hand digitally, and that way Vivian and I can see you, and then we can get the Q&A started. And Donna, is that does that feel right for you, or is there any other words of wisdom that you'd like to say before we open up the room?
No, let's have questions. And I just want to say, I am so happy that you're all here. I see all your faces. It's just, thank you for being here. Thank you so much. I see so many faces that I know and others that I don't, but yeah, I'm really honored to be part of this today. And I hope that there are some great takeaways for each and every one of you. So yeah, fire away.
Beautiful, beautiful space. So we've got Katrina. Hello, welcome. So great to see you.
Hi guys, it's so amazing to see you guys. I haven't seen you guys since like Mind Valley U, so it's like I'm thrilled to be here. This is my friend Catherine Hudson, and I just connected you, Donna and Catherine, and she's making documentaries. So I was so excited to see that you were speaking this morning, because it just feels like perfectly synchronistic and in flow and amazing. And so I just like Catherine's really interested in starting a production company to film documentaries about like looking at things related to conservation and species extinction and stuff. So and I just wanted to connect you too, and like anything like
this is my marketing team.
we met in Shanghai when we were both expats there, so we've been through a lot together, but I haven't actually been together with her physically in 5 years, so it's just like one of those friendships that we just keep on picking up and have remotely. But yeah, I just it's so exciting to just be, because both you, what you and Christina are doing is so aligned with what Catherine wants to do. So I'm putting my
wonderful. Was there a question for Donna, Katrina? Was there a question?
What would you, okay, you were talking about real estate. She's like, was thinking about buying her own home, but I was like, no, you should buy an RV so you can not tied to one location and you can be free to like roam. Like, what would you do if you had that goal in mind? Like, would you, because you're talking about it's the value of owning real estate, but
yeah, I think that if I was to advise, I mean, I do advise people on real estate, and I would always advise people to buy real estate that it generates cash flow. So if you want to buy something to live in, buy something that can generate some cash flow for you as well. Otherwise, it just becomes a liability, even if it's considered an asset, which means you either buy a duplex, so you have a tenant, adjacent to you, or you buy something that has variety of rooms that you can rent out to people either as an Airbnb or you get roommates. But cash flow is king. Otherwise, you have a piece of real estate where you're paying on that, the money's tied up and there's no cash flow coming from it. And then as the equity increases, then that can be refinanced to purchase more. And so it's all about cash flow.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much, Katrina. Nice to see you. Wonderful. Does anybody else have a question to ask Donna?
Chris Diliara had a question in the chat, so if she's unmuted herself, she'll go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
I was trying to find the hand to raise the hand, virtual hand, but I couldn't get. Thank you for reminding. And Donna, thank you for being so inspirational. The moment you mentioned about, like fears or your comfort zone, the moment you just go above and beyond your comfort zone, this is when you feel that you are growing. But would you mind? I mean, sometimes it's kind of a very. Sometimes it's difficult to realize. I'm kind of fearless, but yet I do. It just resonates what you mentioned. But would you be able to say? Would you be able to share, if you could, what was your biggest fear? How did you handle it? How did you translate that into your material, personal, and personal and professional growth? That would be my question.
Well, I think like a muscle, when fear pops up, I'm so used to just putting it on my shoulder and letting it sit there and accompany me as a passenger that it doesn't immobilize me anymore. But I think maybe in the past, when it was a question of, oh my goodness, is this too overwhelming? Is this actually going to stop me? I have always used my inquisitive nature to get as much information as I could about the situation to help dissipate the fear, or to help minimize the fear, because knowledge is power. When we empower ourselves with that knowledge, then we can see the bigger picture, and then the fear or the seeming perceived obstacles become irrelevant, essentially. And I think, when I think of an example, when I was 20 years old and I was getting my pilot's license, I was taking it out here in a small little community, and I was in the small little Cessna 152 with my female instructor, and at around 10 hours of time with her, we taxied in and she jumped out and said, okay, it's your solo time at 10 hours. And I was 20, and I was really afraid. I was just absolutely, about to stop and get out myself. And I remember that as being a really fearful time. And she said, Donna, you have learned everything that you need to. You've studied, you're good to go. I've been sitting here beside you, not saying anything for the last 5 hours as you've been doing all of the exercises you need to do. You're ready. And that was a big thing, because it resonated with me that yes, I could rely on myself, which is something I learned very young, and that we all can rely on ourselves, whether we've learned that lesson or not. You know, I invite you to go out and just test it, but also that I had studied to get to that point where I could do it. And so, you know, the trust in yourself. And if you don't trust in yourself because you still think you're lacking something, learn it. Find the mentor, find the coach, right? Somehow get what you need to have that trust. Because we have it all within us. Everything we have is right here. We just need to put it all together. Sometimes having a coach helps.
Thank you, Donna. The moment you were sharing, and as if you were reading my mind, because the moment you said about trust and then trusting yourself, and then I thought like probably somebody that you trust in, when that's somebody like a mentor, your coach, your advisor, but probably your mentor, if that someone would tell you that you are actually ready, more ready than you think. So I think that when you feel you are ready or you are feeling a little bit in doubt, thank you, because that really resonated with me quite well, because that's been, I literally pictured you being there in the cabin by yourself, because that's once what happened to me, but on the professional arena. And I never ever have sweaty hands, but at that very moment, my hands turned sweaty, and I thought like, geez, would I be capable of doing it? And the moment I looked back at my mentor and the way she kind of shared her eye signals, I thought like, whew, okay, I am ready. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, okay. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Diliara. That's really beautiful, and that really is very helpful to all of us. And I just wanted to mention, everyone, that some people are getting the time of the meeting mixed up because of the time change with Pacific Standard Time. So you might see people coming in, and this is also something that Vivian and I and Donna had been discussing, that we may possibly release this call to the Mind Valley community. So just to be aware, and we'll be, you know, asking everyone who is speaking here, and of course we would like to respect the integrity of the vulnerability that might happen in these calls. But I also want to say that a lot of people here are from Speak and Inspire, and that's where we all met you, and that, you know, our voice really is for the world and to help others in our experience. So I invite you to be open to that, and please engage with us, engage with Donna, because we're all here for you. So thank you so much for that. So Diliara, are you complete? You're complete with Donna. Thank you for being here. Anybody else have any questions for Donna? Okay, Lori Faith, welcome.
Hi there. I am unmuted. This is actually something, it's an insight that I've been having from the Zoom meetings, is that, and it ties into my question, is throughout my life, I've been muted quite a bit. And it always feels like this incredible blessing when I go into Zoom and somebody gives me permission by unmuting me to start talking. And so here's my question. There's all these different things going on, but I do want to say this one thing. So Katerina talked about the documentary, and I had written in my journal this morning asking if the two of you were thinking about doing a documentary together, because total alignment. So, and I was photographing a lot of wild horses and fell off of that. And it's really ignited a passion in me again to get back out there with the wild ones. So here's my question. If I can get my injured brain to stay online, that would be great. When you're talking about telling your story, and I've just gotten Speak and Inspire, so I'm going to be going into that. A lot of my life has been, no one wants to hear your story. You're egotistical if you're talking about yourself. Don't be a victim. Don't talk about the bad things. And so I've got a big block over me that I've been fighting to break through about being courageously vulnerable, and that the right people do want to hear my story. And so what would your advice be when you want to talk about things that are, well, like you talking about the abuse when you were a child or things like that? I've had a lot of trauma and abuse, and it seems that some people really want to be inspired by what I have broken through, who I've become. You know, how could you possibly be a touchy-feely, loving, connected person if that really happened to you? And I want to tell those stories. I'm finding that there are people that would be inspired by it. What would be your inspiration and advice on how to tell that without people think that you're going into victimization mode?
Hi, Lori. Nice to finally see you in
Hi,
person. Okay, well, you answered your question yourself when you said the right people want to hear your story. That was a really important thing that you said. And when you show up and use the adverse situation, when we talk about the adverse situations that happened in our life and use them as points of empowerment to how we have come out of that and how we're clearly not victimized, nobody can think we're talking as a victim. We're not victims, right? We're talking about how we're empowered and how we've come through that. And the common denominator for every single one of us experiencing this human condition is that we've all had adversity. So that's just the thread. That's that golden thread that is weaving through each and every one of us. So by sharing those vulnerabilities, we're just giving that thread to others to hang on to join them, to bring them into the story so that we can all be connected. That's all it's doing. And I think you will enjoy Speak and Inspire so much, because it really, it shows you how to talk about these valleys, these depths, you know, in our stories that have created all kinds of vulnerabilities. And one of the easiest and most intense ways to connect with an audience is to be vulnerable. I mean, Brene Brown is the expert in this, and she talks about this. And I think that each and every one of you listening here today, you know, I've been completely vulnerable and transparent with you, and that has touched your heart, right? Because it's touched my heart to be able to share that with you. So we're all holding on to the same string here, and no one's a victim. Certainly not me. You don't have to worry about that. You won't be a victim. You're not a victim.
Thank you so much for that. And I have seen Lisa at Mind Valley quite a bit, and the valleys. And one thing that it sparked in me was, who have I been inspired by? And in my life, who I've been inspired by is exactly what you're talking about. It's, pardon me, I've got this dog upside down on my lap. I'm always inspired by the people that have the story, you know, the comeback stories and the breakthrough stories and the people that have made it. And one thing about the muting for me is I was in a wreck in 2016 that changed my life, and mostly brain injury. And I don't talk about this a lot, but I'm talking more. One, I can talk more now. I lost many of my abilities to speak, read, write. 30 years of photography was just gone. And I was muted at the time because I was going through litigation, and I was not, you know, I wasn't supposed to talk with anyone. And at the time, it felt very difficult. I live alone. I wanted to be able to share what I was going through, but it's the biggest gift, because when I was muted at that time, I processed more. I worked on myself more. For the first time in my life, I did things. And now when I'm starting to talk about this, it's not, here's what's going on with me and how, you know, the 3 o'clock in the morning, I want to commit suicide. I'm talking about it on Facebook stuff. It's, here's where I was and how I came through trying to recover who I'd lost, to a point of healing, to a point of transformation, to a point of transitioning now. And so that's where it feels better for my story now, to be able to talk with people about not what I'm going through so much as what I went through and where I'm at and where I'm going. Does that make sense in like being vulnerable and talking about my story more? Or is it, I guess what I'm looking at is there a point that it's good to share your story with what you're going through currently? Or is it better to share what you've gone through and where you're going?
I think it depends on your audience. It depends on who you're talking to, and it will come to you organically based on who you're with and who you're talking to, and where you want to go with your story. Every audience is different, and it's good to know your audience. And when you know your audience, you'll know what you need to talk about.
Thank you,
Super.
Laurie.
Thank you. Vivian, take it away, please.
Good to see you. Thank you, Laurie, for this vulnerable share. And I hope you've got some inspiration, because Donna really has inspired me today. Just to remind everyone before we move to Francisca, who has her hand raised, if we can just keep our sort of backstories to the minimum so that everyone has an opportunity to share equally in this space. And then also, we would love to share this recording. So if you have a particular objection to that, could you just send me a message here directly in the chat? So we can perhaps edit you out or do what we need to do to protect your privacy. But we'd love to share this wider, because I do believe Donna is really, really inspiring. So thank you. And Chris, can we move to Francesca's share now?
Absolutely. Francesca, you're on, and then Marcus is next. Thank you.
Hi, sorry I was unmuting. Hi, Donna. It's such an honor to meet you. Thank you so much for all of your beautiful inspiration and talk this morning. I'm going to try my best to formulate my question, because I'm not too sure if it's a question, but basically all the steps that you spoke about, like I've got that stuff down, that's what I've been immersed in the inner work journey from my head to my heart for the last 8 years. And so, I'm in this flow state, I'm in a state of pure awareness and all of these beautiful things, like I can manifest everything. What has happened during my journey, it's because my mission, I'm so passionate about my mission. I think I'm addicted to it and my purpose, right? It's literally like I work around the clock on this, creating content, for humanity, to help them, to teach them how to exit the karmic cycles of suffering and enter the path of the Dharma, in summary, right? Walk on that path. And my question is, so along the way, I'm so addicted to my purpose and finding these, discovering, right? Self-discovery and learning about suffering at such great depths. I think somewhere along the way, I forgot about myself in terms of like my needs and my wants. And then there is this limiting belief that I feel it's a limiting belief. So please correct me if I'm wrong. But it's very, in the spiritual community, it's very prominent, like among high level teachers and so forth, is we're not allowed to ask for what we want. Like we focus on our purpose, especially when it comes to abundance. We are supposed to, and money is not my focus. I'm going to do this regardless of money or not. Like I said, there's an literally, I'm so connected and passionate about my purpose. There's an addiction to it here. Like I'm so excited, it fuels, it's joyful, it fuels me. It's everything. It's everything in my journey. And so my question.
Francesca,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you. I'm like so excited.
Thank
yes,
you.
the question.
I love your energy. I love it. Let's ask Donna the question.
Okay, so the
Thank
question.
You.
So the question is, so I believe this might be a limiting belief that we're not allowed to ask for what we want. And then everything I've been learning since I came to Mind Valley and recently, like abundance, it's like, oh my God, no, Francesca, you have to, this life that you dreamed of, which is why I was really attracted to this talk as well, on dreamed of possibilities, right? And I'm here like deer in the headlights for the first time, and I don't even know what to dream of for myself, like where to start. Like I know I would love to have a home, all these things that I would love to have, but every now and again it conflicts with this belief that, am I allowed to ask for these things? How much can I ask for? And I don't even know what to ask for, because I'm still in that phase of like, the deer caught in the headlights of, okay, so I can ask for myself, I guess. Where do I start? And what steps do I need to take to get there?
Okay. Well,
Okay.
Francesca,
thank you.
I don't know if I formulate the question right.
absolutely. I have the answer. The answers are downloading to me as you're speaking. So there's two things going on. First of all, we need to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first. You know that, right? From flying. We need self-care, because without self-care, we cannot care for anything. So you have a huge passion to contribute, but unless you take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to do that, because you're going to burn out. So I think, be very cognizant of putting on that oxygen mask first. And then secondly, it sounds like the drawer in the kitchen is completely full. So you can't put anything else in there. So you don't even know where to start getting what you want, because you need some time with that self-care, through meditation, through walking in the woods, through however wherever your source is, to just empty stuff out, right? And it's only in the calm and the quiet and in the meditation that we can empty the stuff out to receive what we need. And I think it's really, I totally understand. I'm a type A, and I can fill up all the space. Just give me any space and I will fill it. I have to be very consciously aware of, taking the oxygen mask, emptying out the drawer, all of the metaphors. And I think for you, it's really important, because you're very type A, high energy. You have a lot of passion about what you're doing. You need to really carve out time for yourself, for the self-care. And in that time, empty all the stuff out so that you can receive downloads about what you need, and what steps to take moving forward in the acquisition of what it is that you want, so that you can continue giving forward.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, Francesca. Thank you, Donna. Marcus, are you with us?
I am indeed. I'm beaming in from Belfast. Hello, Dawn. Listen, a million apologies. I was one of the people that got the time wrong, and I thought that I'd logged in early to sort of sit here and get my lighting and everything right. And then I was like, oh my God, it started. So unfortunately, I did miss the start. So I'm so grateful if we do share the start of this again. But what is so amazing was the final bit that I got to hear has talked straight to my heart and my soul, because sort of the long story short, in my 20s, my goal was mortgage free by 30. I would be all I wanted to be was mortgage free by 30. I was mortgage free at 30, but that's because I lost my house in the property crash. But now that I'm about to hit 40, my goal is to be mortgage free again, but for a completely different reason to my 20s. I want to be mortgage free as soon as possible, for the simple reason, the less financial worry that I have to think about, the more service I can be of others. So if my house is paid off, I don't have to hustle to get mortgages and rents and all this type of thing. And what is even more amazing is divine intervention put me into the property that I'm in right now, with a shop below it as part of the one building. And in my mind and in my head, I am going, right, if I buy this building, when I buy this building, the shop downstairs can pay the mortgage, which will allow me to do whatever I want. My question is, have you a quick, or not even a quick, but what is your best strategy to building up your sort of like your financial footprint, so that when I go for a mortgage, they can go, great, you look like you've done well? Because previously I'd lost a property because of the crash, and I haven't really done anything like financial footprinting or anything like that. So how would I get my credit rating to a point where, or what are are there any hacks that you go, if you do X, Y, and Z over the next 3 years, a mortgage company will go, oh my God, you're our perfect candidate?
Hi, Marcus. I love your accent.
Thank
you. Do you currently know your credit score? Have you pulled it recently? You're muted.
The reason why I haven't is because I was told the more you look it up, the more that goes against you. So I wanted to wait until I was getting myself into a position to get myself on track.
Yeah, well, that's true. The more you pull it up, the more it has adverse effects on that. But what I would do is I would work with a mortgage broker that you know you might want to be working with in the future, and and set a strategy with them about what you can do. So, you know, just being very savvy with your credit card, so making sure that, you know, you're using your credit cards, but that you're paying it off full every month. Now, I never have a balance on my credit cards, because why would I want to pay interest to the credit card companies, right? So, you know, that continues building up your credit score by using the credit, but then not going into the interest payments. And then if they pull your credit score once, that won't adversely affect it, but it's good to know where it is right now. Because if you work with a professional, they'll be able to help you in the strategic planning over the next few years as to how you can increase the score if it needs to be, and also where you can create savings. You know, and also just creating savings. I mean, there's so many podcasts, like David Bach is really good. He's the Latte Factor. You know, how do you save 10,000 in a year? How do you save 100,000 in a year? There are actual very legitimate ways to just increase your savings so that you have some cash to put into the purchase in 3 years, if that's your goal.
Yeah. Perfect. It's funny because I thought that for 10 years, I thought I was being so good, and I didn't take credit out on anything. I paid cash for everything. And then I went to set up a business account, and they were like, you don't have a footprint. So I got rejected because I didn't have a credit card, and I paid my phone bill and everything like in cash as it happened. And they said, because I don't have any history. So for 10 years I thought I was being so good doing nothing, and now that's went against me. So that's great. I shall take out a couple of credit cards and shop and pay off and build up that way.
Just make sure that they're hooked up to your bank account so that they're automatically paid every month from your bank account, so you don't have to worry about dates and interest and all that kind of stuff.
Great. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Marcus. Thanks for being here. Love your energy as usual. So there is, Sana would like to ask you a question, Donna, and there's also a question that was written in the chat, and it's from Anna, and the question is, do you have any idea or advice that you would give to a beginner photographer? Anna, did you want to have a conversation and come on screen with Donna? Can we see you somewhere?
Yes, I would love to. Yeah, I started with photography 1 year ago, and everybody are telling me that it's not the best time now. So I didn't say hi, sorry, because Christina already did the sentence. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so happy that you're a photographer, because like I don't speak with many photographers, and I really need your advice, because I wanted to connect photography with the world of orphan children, and I wanted to make a visualization of their best self. And everybody are telling me, don't use photography. It's not the best time. It's not the best time. So what is your idea or advice that you would give me if it's good time to start with photography?
Hi, Anna. Nice to meet you. Well, first of all, I would say I would never let anybody else's limiting belief adversely affect my dream and desire. Okay, so if anybody is telling me anything about don't do this now because it's not a good time, that's their limiting belief, and it has nothing to do with me. Secondly, if you want to improve your photography skills, there's a ton of stuff you can do. You can either, you know, go to photography school full time like I did, but if that's not possible for you, there are so many online sources and
I already did. I finished like academy for photography here. I'm in Poland. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, then I would say just maybe find a mentor, a photography mentor that's already doing what you're doing, maybe not in the same genre with orphan children, but that's already working professionally, that maybe you can intern with or work with 1 day a week to try to find out how they built up their business so that you can start building up your business. There's so many different ways. You know, there are people that think it's never a good time. It's absolutely a good time. I can tell you that after we opened up in June, we were closed from March till June. I pivoted to start focusing on portraits. As soon as we opened up, I went out and I made a $7,000 sale. It's in the middle of a pandemic.
Wow.
Okay, the belief is within ourselves.
I started from August. I was not, because of Mind Valley and all the support from all the people there. I opened a Facebook web page. I have more than 1,000 people now, but like I'm still afraid to go out to the people. So, what would be your advice to me? Just make the stuff.
Just make the step. Yes. Take that fear, allow it to accompany you, but not to immobilize you, and make the step. Go out there, be seen, photograph people, send them an invoice, collect the money, and do it again.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anna. Very valuable questions. Okay, Sana Edlin.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Sana.
Donna, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I love hearing your story, and everything is so inspiring. And Antarctica, to be there and taking photographs and everything. I've always been intrigued by explorers up to places where I have never been, and just to it's an extreme environment, right? Extremely cold, I'm sure. So, and I love these the 5 that you were giving us. That's really powerful. And so mine is still also the last one, showing up. And I just would love to hear some more, like how do you guide yourself to how you show up and to keep going? I know it is to meet the fear and all that, but that seems, and I know that Speak and Inspire, of course, is a lot about that to for us to shift that. But I would love to, I don't know if you can talk some more about that, because that's the really important step on us feeling that when we have such a strong why, we want to go out.
Mm-hmm. Hi. Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Sana. Nice to see you. So absolutely, these are things that hold most of us back. And this brings me to a very funny thing I was talking about with my kids the other day. I don't know if anybody had a mother like this, but your mother would clean the house before the cleaning lady came, right? Or who washes their hair before they go to the hairdresser? Okay, that's all about that. Not wanting to be seen in the truth of our existence because we're afraid of being judged. It doesn't matter if you're worried about the cleaning lady judging your cleaning skills, or the hairdresser judging your clean hair, or the audience that you're speaking to judging what you're wearing. We all are afraid of being judged. And this is where flipping the switch, what Lisa talks about, is that focusing on the audience, whether it's 1 or 1,000, gets us out of our ego. That's what gets us out of our ego. And when we're out of our ego and focusing on the audience and where that message is landing, that's, I think, what finally dissipates the fear. That's what did it for me. It was more important that the people in the audience understood what I was seeing in the Arctic and how I could help them to minimize their carbon footprint than I was worried about whether they, thought my hair was okay or my ripped jeans were inappropriate. And that's the switch. And then, of course, it's just like exercising the muscle. The more we do it, the more we realize, oh my God, I survived. It's okay. I can do it again. I think, and it's when it's coming from that inside, that sincere, authentic place, we have no fear because it's authentic to us. And if it's a script that we need to learn, then of course we need to do the legwork to memorize scripts so we know what we're saying. If it's a TEDx, it has to be kind of memorized or whatever. But it's an authentic talk that we're giving when it's aligned with what our purpose and our power and everything. It's we have it all inside of us, and I think that. And then just doing it over and over again, and pretty soon, it's I get excited when I can come and talk to people like you and Zoom right now, or when I go on a stage, because I have things that people need to hear. People have things that I need to hear. It's all about this, the circular economy of sharing and giving. And when we can get out of our ego and get out of our head, it's just a win-win.
Yeah.
Did that help?
It's
the same stuff we've heard forever, right? I mean, we hear the same thing over and over again. It's just, when does it stick for us? When does it stick for us? When do we take it on as our own? I would invite you, after this talk today, go out tomorrow and put yourself into an uncomfortable situation where you dare to be seen.
Yeah. So beautiful. Sana,
Thank
it's so
you.
great to see you here. And you know, we're all on Speak and Inspire together. And Sana is already a very beautiful speaker. But of course, it's this daily, you know, we always want to up level. We always want to get better and better. And it's just so amazing that we're all here in this space. So are you complete, beautiful, Sana? Are you?
Thank you so much,
Okay,
Donna.
great. Lovely.
Thanks,
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay, who would like to go next to
I see
ask
Charles
Donna?
waving. Charles is waving.
Charles, please come on. Please unmute yourself and we will try to find you here somewhere.
Okay. I think I'm unmuted now.
Beautiful.
Okay. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have a question. I just like to say thank you for giving all of us this rocket fuel recipe for fueling our rockets out of our valleys of uncertainty, heavy on passion and the purpose, a good dash of curiosity, getting a navigator, a mentor to make sure we don't wind up in a field, blown up, and everything. And basically a lot of daring. This menu will take us all where we want to go. Excuse me for not giving a question. I'm just giving you some thank you.
Oh, Charles, look at you. You're a poet. Oh, I love it. You are a poet. Really, very heartfelt. So beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charles, you're amazing. Thank you for being here with us. So amazing. It's wonderful how a tribe like Speak and Inspire, you know, join together and absolutely just at any time, you know, we're here and we're a family, and it starts from that connection. And you know, and while that we're here, I mean, I just want to tell a quick little story. Since Donna is talking about the universe and energy and everything that coincides, I mean, we shared already that we knew each other from 2015, and in 2018, 3 years later, as we were still continuing the process of our life, I mean, that morning we got on the phone and I had already done my signing up with what I needed to do. And Donna said to me, "Oh yeah, Christina, I wanted to tell you that I'm signing up for Speak and Inspire and you should too." And I said, "Oh my gosh, that was the next thing I was going to say to you. I just signed up for Speak and Inspire and I was going to tell you that you should too. We should do this together." And I mean, what are the chances, really, when you think about it? What are the chances of that? There's a million courses online, and there's more than one course on Mind Valley that on this very day, at this very time, on this very call, when we're talking, you know, our energies are already emerged and the universe is already there supporting our intentions. I mean, we exchange this thing and then we end up doing Speak and Inspire together. We were already the closest of friends. And I have to share something very vulnerable. After the first week, I almost quit Speak and Inspire because my ego was in the way for whatever my reasons are. And Donna and our facilitator, Talia, at the time, if it wasn't for those two people who spoke to me, and by the grace of God, I received it, I stayed in the course. And here we are 3 years later, and Donna and I are still the closest of friends, and you know, like sisters, like soul sisters, you know, whether I'm in a boat in, you know, Costa Rica and I'm reaching out for a sister connection and she's in the Alps and we're calling every time because the Wi-Fi keeps dropping. So that's the example of what Donna is trying to share here, not trying, but implemented with us. And my personal journey would not have been the same without you in it. And I also am so deeply grateful and so honored that you're here with Vivian and I today. And I know that some of our other beautiful sisters here and Speak and Inspire here, if they want to interact or do an exchange, please do so with our remaining time. And so thank you, Donna, from the bottom of my heart. This is Donna and I in Hawaii, and this was spur of the moment by the universe. Donna just said, "Hey, I'm in Maui, you know, will you come out?" So I get on a plane and here we are in Maui doing this thing. So many beautiful memories. So thank you. my goddess
Yeah,
sister.
thank you. Thank you. Send me that picture.
Anybody else? You have that picture.
I know,
Does
I've
anybody
lost
else?
it. I changed phones.
Anybody else? Oh, Sharmali. Yes, Sharm, you're on.
Everybody. So yeah, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Charmly. I know a lot of our lovely ambassador ladies here very well, and I'm so sorry I was also late to the start of this, so I will definitely be catching up when I can. But I arrived in time to hear a lot of the amazing questions. My question is, I've been listening to what you're saying and really inspired by the friendship that you guys have. I've come to the realization that for varying reasons, I will need to hibernate some long term friendships that I've had with people that I have a lot of personal affection for, but we're part of a friendship group that's been together for the best part of 20 years. And you know what it's like, we've all grown in different ways. And I felt for probably on and off for the best part of 10 years that I don't feel good about myself when I'm in that group, you know? It's not that I wouldn't want to have individual relationships with those people, but I think especially what's thrown it into very stark perspective, which I've spoken to Christine and Vivienne about before, is that I'm navigating through fertility challenges at the moment and they all have children. And there was a lot of kind of speculation and kind of intrusive questions from some of them with regards to what was happening with me as part of that process. And I just really be interested to know if you had any advice or thoughts about how I can go about making that boundary clear as to, you know, I'm happy to do things one on one or with a few people, but I'd really like to kind of move out of doing things as a group because I just don't feel that that works for me anymore, you know?
Hi, Tamali. Nice to meet you.
You
Have you
too.
tried saying what you just said to me? Because that sounds like it would land in a perfect way based
I
on your authenticity and sincerity.
Thank you so much. You know what, as I was saying it, as I was saying it, I thought, actually, you know what, this isn't too bad. Yeah, you're right. I think it's probably a fear of confrontation that I have, a fear of kind of, well, you know, do you think you're too good for us? You know, have you outgrown us? Or, you know, all that kind of, I suppose I'm imagining the worst case scenario, you know, whereas actually, like you said, everything I said was completely reasonable. So, you know, and it's not like I'm saying I don't want the friendship to end. It's just more a case of how I want things going forward, you know?
Yeah, I think when we are speaking from our heart, if it's received well, that's great. If it's not, that in a sense tells us exactly what we need to know. Then, you know, let's just not align ourselves there for now. But I think
Yes.
it's always good to be transparent, especially with people that we consider our friends. And if they really are our friends, then everything will be resolved. And if not, then the answer also speaks for itself. But what you said was just very beautiful, and I would invite you to say that to them.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank
And
you.
good luck to you.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for this afternoon as well. It's been lovely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sharm. So beautiful to have you here. Thank you. All right, the floor is open, and many of you had suggested earlier to me or to Vivian that you would like to speak. So, is there anybody that will dare to be seen on screen with us? Ask a question.
While we're waiting for the next question, I just wanted to say something that Vishen mentioned something a while ago, and I honestly don't remember where he said it, but it was basically he was talking about setting our intentions and manifesting, and I think he might have even been talking about the Silva method of manifesting for those of you that know that. But he talked about how it's really important for us to be focused on what it is that we want to manifest, not what we don't want to manifest, but what we want to manifest. Okay, that's the key. Not what you don't want, because that's what you'll get, what you don't want, but to focus on what we want. And also to be very consequent in the desire of that, in focusing in that direction. And he used the analogy of a restaurant. And so the waiter or the client in the restaurant is you with your intention, and the waiter is coming and, or, you know, taking your order, and you decide that you want a pizza. So he goes back to the chef, and the chef is the universe, God, Buddha, Muhammad, whomever the deity is, and orders your pizza and then comes back to you and you say, no, I think I'm going to have lasagna. And then he goes back and he changes the order. And then, 3 times, and then you want veal piccata. The universe in the kitchen there has no idea what you want because you've changed that order 3 times. So you end up getting nothing. And that's often the analogy that we can incorporate in our life when we're not clear what we want. The way to manifest something is to be very clear and to move forward in the direction of obtaining it. And the points that I enumerated are, also very much on track of how we can get there. But we need to be very consequent in moving forward in that direction and not be all over the map and changing from pizza to lasagna to veal piccata, or we don't get anything. And I think that's something to really be conscious of as we're, putting out those intentions and trying to manifest this, or, just to be focused and move forward in that direction. So I just wanted to share that because it really resonated with me when he used that example of the restaurant.
So gorgeous. Absolutely. And I love that you're mentioning all this food, Donna. It's almost lunchtime here. So lovely analogy.
Yeah.
The beautiful Raya Sinha would love to connect with you here. Raya.
Hi, Raya. Hi, Raya.
Yeah, hi, Donna. It's great to have you. It's been such a long period of time, and I was so excited when, Christina said you are coming over. I said, "Wow, after such a long time, we are connecting together."
Yes.
So it's such a pleasure to have you. And I tell you one thing, to all of all the people here, that when I came in Speak Inspire, you, Christina, you were the ambassador that time, and you had just been like, I used to just look up to you people, just oh my God, you were like goddesses to me, and how you encouraged me to this journey to move forward and all that. And I saw your step-by-step journey from where in Speak Inspire to the TEDx, and I had been there when you were on the TEDx live, and I was just watching you, and every the entire process you had actually put it in Speak Inspire, that I am doing these things. It was so amazing. And your photographs are like, wow, it just blows my mind, and the way you do it, and black and white, and the lighting, and amazing. It's like and with the polar bear.
Thank
And
you.
all that. Yeah, it's so amazing. So I just the same question which right now you almost answered, but about the manifestation part. So what is yes, you said rightly that you have to be very clear about things what you want. Number one, how to get that clarity that what you want is because the part of manifestation, it has to be very much authentic, and how to get to that point, and how to create that manifestation faster than what you even think about it. How to you just say it is just every time you just say, oh my God, it's magic. Oh my God, it's like, what is that the best way to create that manifestation part? So you had created, that's why I'm asking you this question.
Hi, Rhea. Thank you for all your beautiful, kind words. Well, I think clarity is key. And that takes me back to that kitchen drawer. When it's packed, nothing goes in it. And I also, had to unpack mine by walking in the mountains and just unpack a bunch of stuff so that I could get the downloads of what I needed to do. And whether you're walking in the mountains or meditating in your home, or, however you get the downloads is really important. And we need calm, quiet, and still to get that, which is one of the reasons why we need to implement self-care, and why we need to reduce that constant need to be busy, because it's in these times of quiet and relaxation, which are essential to mental health, it's also essential to get the information that we need to move in the direction of our passion, which is ultimately the direction of our purpose. Okay. And I think in today's world, I mean, okay, we're in a pandemic right now, but that's increased a lot of craziness and busyness for people. It's often not validated or valued for us to take time for ourselves. I mean, I remember, just the voice in my head from my mother, like I was being lazy if I was just doing nothing, but doing nothing is essential to us. So that's the first part there. And then I think it's, to manifest something and to set an intention, we need to take all of these steps, to follow your passion, know your why, be curious and learn everything, find that mentor, right? And dare to be seen. But we also need to believe that it's possible, and we need to see it as actually having happened. So, whenever I visualize anything or whenever I set a goal for something, I always go through a visualization process where I actually visualize seeing it happen. I see it. I can envision it. I can feel it. I can taste it. This is part of the Silva method of meditation and manifestation, and many practitioners use this in their ability for manifestation. Believing it's possible is essential, because if you want to move forward in that direction, but you still have that limiting belief that it's possible for you, that's like the restaurant and the pizza, lasagna, picante, veal piccata, whatever it's called. That's exactly what you're going to get, a mishmash of nothing. So focus, belief, moving forward in the direction, implementing all of the other strategies, and visualizing. When I wanted to do this master's degree, I started in January. I started my application in October. I visualized it. I put everything together. I saw myself in Zoom in class, because it's in the UK and we're in Zoom right now. So I visualized the whole thing, and here I am. I'm actually doing what I saw in my mind. We can set the stage. And I honestly can't think of an example where you cannot create what you want by implementing these processes. I mean, it's how it works. The universe is benevolent. It's, all the gifts are there. We have everything we need inside us to create it. Does that help? Did I answer that?
Yes, it's beautiful. I remember when you were doing the TEDx talk, the time you used to say this, I could see myself, people are clapping and these many people are there.
Exactly.
I remember talking
Do you
about
remember?
it.
And I actually,
yes.
and part of the meditations that I did with that was I listened to an audio of an audience clapping and giving a standing ovation. And I would stand in front of that as I was listening to the audio, and I had my hands raised in the air in that power position of receiving and just being open, with heart open. And when I finished my TEDx, I stood on that stage. I didn't have my arms open like that for the audience, but I stood and I was open-hearted, and they gave me a standing ovation, exactly like I saw it. Exactly. It was a miracle. I mean, but that's life, right? Life is full of miracles. Yeah, amazing. Thank you for reminding me that.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful journey. Thank you so much, Christina, bringing Donna here. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you
to
so
see
much.
you.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
And thank you for that trip down memory lane. I love that. And I see a couple of hands going up, and Sherry Carpenter, you can go next. What I would like to share, I just opened up a couple of things here on my screen, and everything here is organic. So I am going to share this amazing picture of Donna and her wonderful partner, Hitch. I think you can see that. That's the man who supports this amazing and beautiful woman who's with us today. And also, here's one of the photos, Donna, that has really, really touched my heart. And I'm not sure whether you can see that. So Donna's got quite a range, and we have this beautiful landscape. And later on, after Cherie shares, I'll share some of the other glacial and
Can I just say
pictures.
something about this?
Please, please, please.
Okay,
Yes.
because this is me overcoming a limiting belief recently. I have only recently started submitting photos for competition because I didn't know if I had what it took to be seen in the international community. So last summer, I submitted my first portrait photos, and I got some bronze awards for those. And recently, in January, I submitted 6 photos to the WPE World International Photo Awards, and I submitted 6 landscape photos, and this was one of them. This photo I took 4 years ago, and I received silvers, 5 silver awards for these photos that I had taken, over the last 3 years, I guess. And I was so excited because that was me overcoming one of those speed bumps just recently, because I'm living in the human condition, and they show up, and I have to overcome them, and so it was just really an exciting time for me, because I don't need the international community to give me feedback to make me feel validated, for me to pursue my profession. But it is just a really nice bonus that I am recognized from this international community of thousands of people, and that I was, received these silver awards for these photos. So, it happens all the time. And I think, this is why I invite you to show up, because when we do, we can overcome these obstacles, and we can obtain whatever it is that we're seeking and looking for, usually. So I was really proud of that. Thanks for showing that.
Yeah, and here's another one here of a polar bear in action.
And this
And
one also a silver for the wildlife series.
Yeah, I was about to get into your award-winning work, but of course, everything happens organically here. And I just love how, you've just taken it from, and in a very short period of time, because I remember being at Savory Island with you and doing our first Photoshop course together, which was also universally, orchestrated.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to like stand there, and perhaps you were going to take pictures of me as you practiced. And it's absolutely remarkable how it can happen in such a short period of time. I mean, within 3, 4, 5 years to just, Donna mentioned how she had a camera around her neck when she was 10. And I know that she has shared with me that she didn't know then that she was going to be an award-winning photographer. And then, of course, as the years go by, here it is. And she actually visualized that part of her life, which is unbelievable. Well, actually, it is believable and amazing. Thank you.
Well, now that we know how it works.
Yes, and now that we know how it works. Sherry.
Well, Cherie, but I'll
Cherie.
I ran across this whole thing kind of serendipitously last night, and I put it on my thing so I could get up, and I'm so glad I did. This has just been uplifting in the long run. I grew up pretty modestly myself, and I've never had any desire to go beyond that. Okay, I've never lived beyond my means. I worked in the steel mill. I got a junky house. Damn it, it's paid for. I got a junky car. Again, it's paid for. But I don't understand money. Okay, and I'm beyond. I'm beyond an age where I can realistically expect to go out and start, really generating a lot. I'm 69 and I have MS, and it's not terrible. I know people a lot worse off than I am, but it's still limiting. Do you have any gentle direction for a woman of my space? My main goal in life is being authentic, and I think I manage that one fairly well. But there's a part of me that says, damn, I am really dumb when it comes to money. I mean, I don't waste it, but I don't have the knowledge that you have as far as really dealing with. I think I've got what maybe $20,000 saved, but that's gonna last me for the rest of my life. And that's my question. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, Sherry. Nice to meet you. Well, there are so many resources about money, and I'm going to tell you just a tip right now. If you have some time to listen to Marie Forleo TV, you can Google Marie Forleo, Forleo, and type in Marie Forleo TV Money Talks. And Marie Forleo is an amazing, she has an amazing YouTube channel. She interviews 4 or 5 people about money, and the talks are just about money. And I think there's so many kernels of wisdom. She interviews David Bach, who's a money guru. She interviews Kate Northrup, who wrote a book called Money, It's a Love Story. And this will direct you to the people that she's interviewing, and then you can investigate further whoever resonates with you. And I mean, Kate Northrup's book, Money, It's a Love Story, is brilliant in itself. But there's so many different things that we can do to increase our revenue, increase our streams of income, even in the situation that you're currently in. But I think you can find so much material just by, tapping into what I just mentioned. And also changing the ideas around money, because a lot of us have issues surrounding money that are built up from childhood, really weird ideologies from parents. Money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are evil. I mean, it just goes on, to not even knowing how to deal with money. And when we can reframe our thoughts and relationship with money, then we can redo our relationship with money and how it comes in and how it flows. Money is energy. It can be, the currency that we use right now is paper in the form of, bills, but it could be chocolate, it could be buttons, it could be whatever. It's just an exchange of currency, value for value. So I would invite you to go down that stream of Marie Forleo, watch those few people that she interviews, dig deeper, investigate. Send me a message if you want some more tips. Anybody can send me a message on Facebook, private message, if you want more tips about money. There's so much free information about money. I coach people sometimes about money even. And if you want to save $10,000 a year, $27 a day, that's all it takes. And how do you get to $27 a day? Cut out the latte factor, right? That's $5 to $8 depending on where you live. Who needs 500 channels on the TV? We don't. Reduce the cable subscription. I did a massive reduction in my own bills a few years ago to see how much more I could save to put it towards a piece of real estate. And it was massive. I didn't need all these magazine subscriptions. I didn't need 500 channels. I certainly didn't need a $10 latte a day. It's infinite, the amount of money that we can reduce from going out into the stream of nothingness, and keep that for something that we need. So good luck to you, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry, for that lovely question. And Viv and I are here together, and we're about to close the room. And there was one last little question from Francesca. I'm just going to read it. On clarity for manifestation, for example, I know I would love to own my own home, but I don't know where I want to live, for example. Do I have to know the location that I want to live in, or how much money I need to ask for? Maybe we could close off with that question, Donna.
I think for me personally, I think it's hard to fulfill a manifestation if I don't see the bigger picture, if I don't see the full picture, the complete picture. So maybe, who asked the question? Francesca?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe you could focus on where you want to live. Maybe you could try to, in the meantime, until you figured out where you want to live, you can continue saving your money, because that ultimately will be the driver that gets you to, make the actual acquisition. But yeah, figure out in your research stage, figure out where you want that to be, because ultimately there will be no purchase unless you know where it's going to be, right?
Beautiful. So Viv's got some closing words for us. I also want to remind everyone you're welcome to save the chat. There's 3 dots right by the chat where it says file. If you click on that, you can save the chat. And we will also be doing something with this recording. Vivian?
Thank you. And just thank you so much, Dawn. Your energy is so gentle and your wisdom shines through in everything you say. And I think it's just your beauty and your light and your gentleness for me is what, enables you to share your gift and your wisdom so wonderfully. I know everyone's been super inspired by what we've heard today, and we're all eager to connect with you more because this is just endless. What Donna knows just doesn't have bounds. From money to, manifesting, you've just got a wonderful way of sharing all that you have. So thank you very much
Thank you
for
very
being
much.
here and for sharing with us. We would love to be able to share this with the community. So Christina and I are going to figure it out. But please, if someone has a specific reason they do not want their vulnerable share to be shared, please contact myself or Christina so that we can edit it out. And we'll figure out the best way and the safest way to share this just to the wider Mind Valley community who would like to see this. Thank you, Donna, and over to you, Christina. You've been a most amazing, generous, and beautiful hostess today. So thank you for all your time and your effort that you put into the Mind Valley circles for us all.
Vivian, thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
so beautiful and always so gracious and the perfect partner with the Mind Valley Circles. And it's Vivian's and my vision that we bring consciousness and spirituality and also a practical approach on how we move forward step by step in the direction of our dreams. And we trust the universe and we get downloads as to who to bring on, and we're having a lot of fun as we do it, and it just opens up my heart working with Vivian constantly, and to have my beautiful sister Donna here, and I second Vivian's emotion with everything she said. And thank you so much for honoring us with your presence and your wisdom, and how you connect so instantly at the heart level with everyone. And it shows in your work and how the universe bestows upon you all the abundance and prosperity that you have envisioned and deserve. So my heart to your sister. Thank you.
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for showing up and for your questions and for your vulnerabilities and your energy. I can feel it emanating from my screen because, as we know, energy goes out there into the universe and it becomes this massive field that interconnects us all. And connect with me. I'm on Instagram. I have 2 pages. One is Donna Mueller Photography, which is my landscape, and the other one is Donna Mueller Photo, which is my portrait. If you have questions, private message me. I'm open and receptive, and I'll follow you back, and we can keep connected. And I think Mind Valley is a beautiful community to bring all of us together and provide this platform. So Vivian and Christina, thank you for hosting this and inviting me, and letting me show up and be seen.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I just typed on the chat here your Donna Mueller photography.com, and it's very easy to find Donna. You just Google her, Donna Mueller, and she's there on Instagram and everywhere. And I welcome this community, not just to connect with Donna, but with everyone. That's what we're here for, and there's wisdom in everybody. So thank you so much, Donna, for this beautiful time. And yes, Vivian and I will figure out how to have this recording available to the community. And until next time, thank you all for being here. Donna, any closing words?
Oh, be love. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Bye.